franchise. I'm so happy that you're a part of it now.
Oh, thank you.
You did it justice, man.
Thank you.
Did you take any inspiration from any mech-based shows like Gundam or Robotech?
Sure. I mean, I took inspiration from everything I grew up loving. I'm really a child of the late 70s, early 80s. So for me, there's a lot of Ultraman, Space Giants, Johnny Sacco and his flying robot, and of course all the famous man-in-suit monster movies.
Sure.
That I just loved. So everything just threw it into my blender, my subconscious blender. And more than anything, I wanted to take all that and make a movie that I would have loved seeing back in that era. I know in the first movie, Guillermo always talked about he made the movie for the 11-year-old
right.
inside him. And my 11-year-old was sitting right next to Guillermo.
Now, you were also a writer on this film.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk to me about writing for such a scale? Because this project has a lot of VFX, and it's a big scale. So can you talk to me a little bit about that process?
Sure, the writing process, I approached it very much like writing for television. One of the first things I did when I was hired is I told Legendary, look, because especially we don't have a lot of time to do this, I want to put together a writer's room like TV. So we put together a writer's room for 2 weeks with half television writers, half feature writers.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I had like an 8-page outline for the story, but there was a lot to be worked out. So for 2 weeks, they helped me work out the story and name the kaiju, name the Jaegers. We spent 2 days just on that.
I mean, you helped shape the landscape of television, genre television, especially with Smallville and Spartacus and Daredevil for the past decade or so. So how was it transitioning that to this big blockbuster, major motion picture?
My experience in TV was invaluable.
Sure.
In directing this movie. I took everything I learned from writing and directing and producing in television and applied it to this movie. This movie was basically the same as doing that, just times 100.
Sure.
Everything was just supersized.
Now, Charlie Hunnam isn't back in this one, but if you were helming the next one, do you think there's room for his return, his character's return at all in the Pacific Rim universe?
Absolutely. I would. Charlie Hunnam and I sat down and talked about this movie. We actually wrote an entire script with Raleigh Beckett as the main character.
Oh, wow.
And I turned it in. Everybody loved it. The next day it was announced he was doing the remake of Papillon that shot at the exact same time we were. And I know it was a passion project for Charlie. I love Charlie. I would love to work with him. And there is definitely room in the franchise to bring him back.
Now, I know that you did a lot of work on Smallville. Superman hasn't quite hit its stride on the big screen. What kind of story does it take to get the fans into that movie again?
Superman is one of the hardest characters to write for. One of the brilliant things about Smallville, it was all about Clark. He wasn't Superman yet. Superman's very different from Batman. Batman is this dark, psychologically messed up guy. Superman's the man we all aspire to be. He's inspirational. And to try to find the human side of that, not to mention he is so powerful.
Right.
It's harder to relate to him. So it's very, very difficult. I actually really like what Zack Snyder has done with the character. It's a super hard, very tricky character to do. And like I said, if we were doing on Smallville, if he were Superboy on Smallville, I don't think it would have worked.